Greetings, and welcome to WTPN. That you're listening to this means that you are the resistance. Hear now the news that the state-controlled media ignores. We begin today's coverage with another story ignored by the prostitutes in the state-controlled media. On January 16th, middle-class Sicilians began taking to the streets, opening up a new front in the worldwide uprising against forced austerity by banking and government elites. Unlike many participants here in the U.S., the majority of the protest is driven by middle-class and older Sicilians. Watching what the citizens of neighboring Greece have been forced to endure, they understand the perils of trusting financial elites. A story of this magnitude should be a hot topic on the BBC, CNN, or one of the American broadcast networks. But there's been almost nothing. After a mere 2 days, the entire Mediterranean island of Sicily has been shut down. Practically all economic activity on the island has come to a complete halt as the citizens there refuse to allow their government to sell their national birthright to foreign bankers. Store shelves are empty, gas stations have no fuel to sell. To give this story some perspective, had the Occupy Wall Street protesters successfully shut down all of Manhattan Island, could the media have blacked this out? So what is it the elites don't want you to know? Foremost among the demands of the Sicily protesters, the arrest of all corrupt politicians. Dismissal of the provincial bureaucracy. A good number of these unelected local crooks have been in office for over 40 years. Drastic cuts in the salaries and privileges afforded to parliamentarians and senators, as well as term limits of just 2 terms. This is just the opening blow. As the outrage carries over into everyday life for average Sicilians, fuel prices have risen as well as taxes, which increased the price by 40%. We'll be keeping a close eye on this story for you. Next up is from the internet newspaper for iPad, The Daily, with a story about good news from Detroit. One of America's most crime-ridden and impoverished cities, Detroit has been known for years as a forlorn and depressing place where citizens with the means have been fleeing for better lives in other states. Now comes the data which shows that in the absence of state-sanctioned violence and kidnapping, otherwise known as the police, the people have actually begun to take matters into their own hands and reassert their natural rights to self-defense. Justifiable homicide in Detroit rose 79% in 2011 over 2010's figure. Citizens defending themselves in justifiable force is a whopping 2,200% above the national average. Despite 700,000 residents, police staffing has dropped from close to 5,000 a decade ago to under 3,000 today. 2011 FBI numbers indicate Detroit has the second highest per capita murder rate in America. This is a 10% hike year over, with 344 killed. According to the most recent figures, police response times average 24 minutes. In comparable cities across America, it's typically under 10. The natural human right to defend yourself or your family against violence has been demonized and criminalized in the latter half of the 20th century. An over-reliance on the state, deliberately fostered, and an overwhelming effect in large cities throughout America has led to the mistaken belief that the police actually have a duty to protect the individual citizen. Numerous Supreme Court cases have definitively answered no. The police do not have to protect you from violence. Their job is to enforce the will of the state, hence the subtle but deliberate shift from peace officer to law enforcement. It's refreshing to see people reestablishing their natural rights, and hopefully this will serve to break more people away from their conditioning to rely on the state. Moving right along, a chat with Roger Landry, the thinker behind the We the People network. Roger's an avid blogger and spends his evenings cruising through various groups on Facebook. He came up with some brilliant ideas to circumvent the deliberate limitations on citizen organizing that Facebook has put in place. Roger, thanks for taking a few minutes to chat with us on our webcast. Tell us about the We the People network.
So the We the People network is an umbrella organization designed to link multiple Facebook forums, pages, groups, in a network of forums populated by liberty-minded individuals. The task was undertaken because I strongly believe that one voice can speak, but many voices can roar. Well, it's about time we started to roar. The network was built realizing the principle that the true governing power in this country is of, for, and by we the people. And if we don't get off our butts and start to seize upon this and exercise it, we're going to forfeit this ability and we probably won't be able to get it back. At the present, We the People Network represents roughly 750,000 people, and at the rate we're going, we should cross the million mark by this month's end, and possibly sooner. We have a pretty wide influence. It's varied. It includes a brand new YouTube channel, multiple websites. We have a presence on Twitter. We have 5 radio podcast shows, including a weekly We the People Network show, and well over 150 Facebook pages and groups. These forums are vary in size from as low as 15 to 20 members all the way up to 300,000 members. This is an organization with a very powerful Ron Paul bias. It's bent on seeing this outstanding patriot elected as our next president. But once this decision has been made, We the People is going to continue on into the future unabated, growing and gathering our voice because there will always be a need for a strong-minded organization such as this to champion the causes of We the People.
Okay, so let us know a little more about the organization and specifically the people who are involved with you.
Well, the organization is very dynamic. When you have this many people, you've got to believe that you've got some talent hidden there. If you've got 750,000 to 1 million people, there's some serious talent. And when you mine this organization for the talent, you come up with the people that I've put together to run this very dynamic organization. And these people are all extremely intelligent. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the senior admins that actually are responsible for the day-to-day running of this network. We have Lynn Nichols. She is the network administrator and basically the coordinator. She also takes charge of the volunteer group, which helps us to get critical posts out to our partners. We have Bonnie Liberty Ross. She is our executive recruiter and responsible for the rapid growth of this network. She is a phenom, and we give thanks every day that she partakes in the network. We have John Jackson. He is our IT coordinator and responsible for our websites and the team that puts everything together. We also have Sandal Valley. He is part of the IT team and responsible for building our websites. Very dynamic individual with his own website. We have Jerry Davis. He's our admin at large. He's our resident genius. He can do just about anything you want him to do. Just let him know what needs to be done. And then we have a team of 3, David Callahan, Randall White, and Kelly Mordecai, and they are our legal experts. And they're well on track to getting this organization in line with all the things we need to do to become a strong and legalized network and organization. We also have Rich Sobey. He is our partner team lead, and he basically runs the We the People Network sites themselves and keeps everything running smoothly along there. And last but not least, by a long shot, is SoftSuite. She is an assistant network admin. And again, she's one of our people who, if you just ask her to do it, she can get it done. This is a very talented team. I don't run We the People Network. These people do. I coordinate. Without them, none of this happens. So 95% of the credit of this network goes to this fine team.
Thanks, Roger. It's inspiring to me knowing that the liberties we have in this country are being used to inform as many people as possible, as quickly as possible, about the dire threat we face from the Leviathan of government. We'll check back with Roger Landry soon and find out more about the staff from WTPN and what they're up to in the future. On to the political arena. The ongoing presidential primaries with Dr. Ron Paul, the Texas member of the House of Representatives, whose primary campaign has been pretty much ignored, maligned, and ridiculed by almost every outlet of the prostitute media, has been accused of voter fraud by Rachel Maddow of MSNBC. Now, this really shouldn't merit much comment since MSNBC has about as many viewers as I do. But Ms. Maddow has essentially accused Dr. Paul of defrauding the voters. In her analysis, Ms. Maddow claims that Dr. Paul's innovative strategy of campaigning to accumulate the most delegates and therefore attaining the nomination is somehow dishonest because he's not actually winning any primaries or caucuses. Newsflash, Rachel, it's about the delegates in total, not primary wins in total. The system is designed to reward the candidate with the most actual support instead of who could win a few states. This way, no one region of the country or political constituency can dominate the field. It's actually the closest thing to fairness we have in this apparently rigged process. Dr. Paul has consistently come out ahead in every exit poll that we've heard of. Yet his vote tallies seem to run inconsistent with the data the pollsters are providing. Indeed, Newt Gingrich is supposedly to have won a single primary. The elections where only the most partisan and thus motivated voters come out. He did this a day after canceling a rally in that state because of low turnout. With so many diverse candidates in the field, each taking a different state, no single candidate can claim a mandate. However, this is irrelevant at this early point because only the delegate count matters. With Dr. Paul being the only candidate with consistent and motivated support, his turtle versus hare strategy seems to be working, and by convention time, his campaign expects to have enough delegates to ensure the nomination. That's our webcast for today. I'm glad you decided to take the metaphorical red pill. Join me as I show you just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Thanks for watching. Look for us again on this webpage real soon.